Hi, this is Lindsay. Welcome back to my channel. I have another heirloom journal to share with you. This is made with the principles from the Nick the Booksmith Adventures in Booksmithing course. This one has a backstory to it. It's about a time traveler and her husband. He's an inventor. He created a time machine, and it seems like they've traveled from between 1700 to maybe about 1950. There's a whole bunch of memories in here from those time periods. There's these beautiful roses. Here's a little pocket watch and some gears, and she put laces and little garment pins and charms on the ridged spine, and then there's also a gear there on the back. So the closure here is one of their hair ribbons her mother made her when she was a girl, and I hand embroidered this. Okay, and then let's get inside. So I used mostly things from Junk That Treasures, Tsunami Rose, and Old Design Shop, plus things that I found in my stash, things I found online. So here's an old house from 1724 that maybe they visited or lived in. Here's a lullaby song she sang to her daughter, a heart charm on her necklace. Here's some American history. Oh, we missed a page. World map. Lots of beads, baubles, typewriting. Here's some scans from some fabric from the 1700s, probably some styles she liked. She loved roses. This was her motto, be the change you want to see in the world. And she took that seriously wherever she traveled. And then this is a perpetual calendar, so she could use it wherever. One of her buttons from her coat. This is her father, and then a scan of a doily her grandmother made. They took a voyage across the sea. They've been to mostly Europe and America. Here's a ticket down here to Yellowstone. Some more typewriting. There's a little place to write in there. And then here's a photograph of her from 1900. And there's a garment pin with a piece of jewelry on there. She loved botanical things and gardening. Here's a little bit from one of her daughter's outfits. 1916, we knew she was there. This was probably their cat. Here's a painting of their cat. Lots of inventions and different things she saw. Her mother's brooch. Here's her daughter. They named her Journey. And here's a little memory book she made to put memories of her daughter in. Here's a painting of her in the early 19th century. And different papers that she kept tell us something about here. Here's a French-English dictionary page. Here's some house paints. And then all of these little pieces right here tell a story, obviously. There's artist materials, sketching outfits, about traveling to California, buying a piano, artistic bookbinding. These are all things that she was looking into or did or wanted to buy. She collaged a lot of memories together. Here's another one of her grandmother's laces, and this is a painting of her and her husband at a ball at one of the time travel trips they took, and some of the roses from that dress she kept, and one of the centerpieces. This is a dance from early 1700s that her and her husband participated in, and when she took that trip to California, she loved the Valencia oranges there, this brand in particular, so she kept that packaging. And here's an old book. It's over 100 years old. This is an actual page of Beethoven's home. So she probably visited that. And she saw a lot of neat inventions. Here's a little clock piece, too. Her husband studied timepieces and time and clocks. Here's a piece of his shirt and some yarn she used to darn his socks. They had a very loving relationship. So E, this is a very scan of a very old book page about how to write the letter E, which is their last name. Here's part of her daughter's clothing. Of course, I'm inspired by Amity Bloom for that. And then lots of inventions. Here's one of her husband's tags and some time notations there, and a blank postcard that she took with her so she could send back to her family when they were gone. There's a butterfly charm. Always find time for the things that make you happy to feel alive was their motto as a couple. Some more maps, and here's her and her daughter. Here's her husband and a card for him to write on. She kept a lot of his things for him as well. One of the timepieces he studied. One of his envelopes. There's a key to their house, so when they came home after their trip. Some paintings she saw when she was abroad. There's her husband's bow tie and some of his clothing. She liked to keep snippets of that. The Time Machine by H.G. Wells was their favorite book. And this is her perfume bottle and a sample of perfume. If you take the cork out, there is a little piece of fabric soaked in some essential oil. It has oil of rose and a few other floral oils, and it smells really good. So that's a sample of her perfume. Another perpetual calendar. Here's a Valentine her husband gave her, Love, Dream, Remember. And a postcard and another one of her husband's tags. See, we think they made it to the 50s because here's how a refrigerator works. Maybe her husband even invented it. I don't know. Here's a shipping tag and England and Wales. Another timepiece, and then a piece from a math book on life insurance that her husband had, and a ticket to an election from 1876. Sundials and Roses of Yesterday is a book her and her husband wrote together, and here's some of one of those pages. Just more writing. Here's another writing spot and some stenciling down here. Here's a sundial over the porch of Yim Church. So this may have had something to do with the time portal or time continuum or something, I'm not sure, but that's in there. One of her favorite soaps and some vintage dictionary pages, definition of woman. Some of her favorite recipes. They got to ride a Vespa at one point. Some really neat definitions here. Go. Sundials and Roses. There's another page from that book. Here's a tuck spot, and there's a little typing. This is a piece of lace from her veil. Here's the story. Here's the cover page to their book, Alice Morse Earle. So she typed up the book for him. They wrote it together, Sundials and Roses. That's why she was learning typing. Here's another scan of the 1700s fabric. There's a receipt. A little glassine bag with a card in it. Lots of things that say date, so they can date different things as they travel, since they're traveling years back and forth. This is a book from Emily Post, a page, Advice for Travelers on Currency and Language, and she kept that. Here's a balloon with a parachute and a little heart charm there on top. This is an actual page from a workbook on physics from the early 1900s, and this is on prisms, so that was her husband's. And then here's a little tea card, some tea. That's actual tea bag in there. It's caramel. That was her favorite. Inventions. More workbook pages that her husband was studying. Little guest check, and maybe from a hotel they stayed at, and then some paper for him to do sketches on. They like to play cards together, and their favorite games were Rook and Solitaire. So here she put those in there. And then I put this in here for fun. So if she went to the, if they got to the 1950s, they may have even seen some of the early Disney movies. And so that's Johnny Appleseed. And then we have this beautiful library card in the back. Beautiful end paper. So I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I loved making it. The amount of effort and work it took to add all these touches and put it together was intense. It was a lot, but I loved it, and I hope you love it too. So the Etsy link down below will take you right to where you can purchase her if you would like to take her home.